How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Box to Box. And this one is the big one. It's Manchester City right here at the Emirates Stadium, and who other than Big Steve to come in for the big one. Box to Box, Big Steve, Manchester City, back at the Emirates. How you feeling, my guy?
Yeah, it's good to be back here. Got some good memories here from last season. Came here, got the job done. Hoping we can do the same on Sunday.
You say you got good memories here, and you're right. Last season we played you across 3 competitions. Obviously one of those was at the Emirates, the other 2 being at the Etihad in the FA Cup as well. But we just haven't managed to get one over on you for a little while. We have the FA Cup semi-final win over you in 2020, but in the league it's been a hell of a long time. I don't even have what year it is off the top of my head. I think it was 2012, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we beat City.
Yeah, something like that. It's been a great record for us here. It's a good ground for us, and last season obviously we were neck and neck with Arsenal. We came here, there was a lot of pressure on us, and we put the performance in. So obviously we're meeting you a bit earlier in the season. Expectations are not that high from both teams. It's still early days, but definitely City's going to want to come here and put a marker down and make a statement. Yeah,
we went toe-to-toe last year, so I want to start in the transfer window, because we went toe-to-toe. I say pipped us to the post, but essentially at the end you won it with 3 games to go and kind of took your foot off the gas to focus on the other competitions to complete that famous treble now. But the transfer window, losing Gundogan, losing Mahrez, 2 key players over the years that turn up at the business end of the season. At one point it looked like City were going to go into the season weaker. Then Doku comes and Nunes comes, and now we're a few game weeks into the season. How are you feeling about the decisions made in the summer transfer window to lose a couple experienced players but also bring in a couple young ones?
Yeah, unfortunate to lose Gundogan, Mahrez and Laporte, but to replace them with Guardiola, Nunes and Doku, it's always tough. You know, the season we had last season was a memorable season. We win in the treble. You always expect or fear a bit of a drop-off. So for Pep to freshen up the squad, get rid of a few older players and bring in some new, young, exciting players, especially Guardiola and Doku, I think City fans are happy. We've had a few injuries this season and a few daft suspensions, but other than that, I think we're relatively happy. Look, we're top of the league going into this game. We're on the back of a defeat to Wolves, which was unfortunate, but we bounced back the other night in the Champions League. I think, you know, we might not be as strong as we was last season, but we've got to give it time. We've got to let the new players bed in. We've got to let, especially people like Doku and Guardiola, who are very young and raw, they've got to know what to expect from this City team. They've got to know what to expect from Pep. And like you say, it's early days. As long as we're in and around the top come the business end of the season when we get going, I think every Manchester City fan will be happy with that.
Yeah, and it's interesting how Pep treats new signings, because Doku seems to have hit the ground running and he's getting regular game time, whereas with Guardiola and even Nunes, it seems like they're being bedded in a bit slower. And look, who can argue against Pep Guardiola in terms of tactics and team management? Sorry, we got a few supporters there showing some love. What about Arsenal's transfer window? I mean, like I said, we went toe-to-toe. We lost that at the end. Arsenal bringing Declan Rice, Kai Havertz. We won't mention Timber as he's injured for the season, it looks. And we lost Granit Xhaka. We've started the season quite well. If we're looking at results, being 1 point behind City, we haven't lost the game. But the performances have brought up many questions. Outside looking in, what do you make of Arsenal so far this season?
I think you've just got to focus on the job, and like you say, you're undefeated. You have dropped points to Fulham and Tottenham. Champions League the other night was unfortunate, but listen, last season was a sensational season for Arsenal and nobody expected it. So I think you're far ahead of where you expected to be. The signing of Havertz puzzled me because obviously we've seen him in the Premier League and he's not been outstanding. Mm-hmm. Declan Rice was the main man. I think everybody knows that if Arsenal get Declan Rice over the line, he improves the midfield. He's a young, hungry talent and he improves Arsenal overall. Havertz for me doesn't do that. Timber, I thought looked very, very special. I thought he looked very, very good. I thought he can fit in anywhere across that back line. It's unfortunate with injuries. But listen, Arsenal fans, you've started brilliant. You know what I mean? You can anyone can criticise performances. We've lost, you haven't. But we don't panic. You know, certain sections of your fan base panic. Certain sections don't. I just think what Arteta's doing, you're going in the right direction. And listen, you might fall short again. You might go on and win it this season, but it's too early to say. But at the minute, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm happy.
You talk about panic, and I just want to ask, do you blame us, considering the juggernaut that you are? And when you look at Manchester City's dominance over the last 6-7 years, I haven't seen a team catch City and overtake City when City have a lead. I know that one season Liverpool, I think, made up 11 points, or was it 13, 14 points, but in the end lost out by a point. They didn't actually overcome. So as an Arsenal fan, looking at last season, looking at the progress we made, going into the game week 7 fixtures against Bournemouth and against Wolves respectively, we was 4 points behind City, and that didn't bode well heading into the Emirates. And surprise, surprise, Wolves pick up a win, and now it's only 1 point. So it set this one up quite tastily this Sunday. But do you blame us for being a bit on edge about it all, even if it's so early in the season?
I don't know. I think there's a mentality block. Because early doors last season, when you started so well, I was getting a lot of messages saying, "Oh, Man City are finished. You haven't got what we've got. We're going to do this. We're going to do that." And some fans were saying, "No, I don't want to poke that bear. I don't want to poke that bear." I just knew, and I was confident, and I'm not arrogant. I was confident that we get going late. But there was a time in that season where, especially, we played Nottingham Forest and we drew 1-1, and Erling Haaland wasn't getting many touches, and we didn't look at the races. And then the charges came out. The press against Manchester City and the supporters came out.
Before you go, I remember you saying we can use this as a siege mentality type of response.
and we did, and even the lads I speak to and go, we said, you know what, it's everybody against us, let's have it. And Pep bought into it, the players bought into it, and that was bad news for Arsenal then. And then that, with the Arsenal going out the competitions, which we spoke about on other shows, people thought that was going to be beneficial to Arsenal. I knew it wasn't. Rhythm is what you need in a title race, and rhythm gets you over the line. But listen, Arsenal are a great team. They've got a good season last season. This season, they've just got to take it up a notch. Whether you've got to go out in January and get a striker, I don't know. But no, I think they'll be there or thereabouts.
You said some Arsenal fans didn't want to poke the bear. So is that what it is this season? City are the bears, or the Sharks was last season?
We might be there. I don't want to start going down the characters and different characters and that. But no, you know what City's like. I mean, I watch City every week, and sometimes I look at them and I think, so frustrating to watch. You know what I mean? You've got Erling Haaland in the box, nobody crosses and that. And then all of a sudden, Pep will just do something, and then it just gives the whole team a lift. And you can never write this Man City team off. As a fan base, we don't panic. Pep could come in and play a crazy team at weekend. We could get beat. But to us, that doesn't matter. There's loads of games to go. This game on Sunday will not decide the title. I believe you need the win more than us. Mm-hmm. I believe you need it as a mental block to say, you know what, we beat that City team. Mm-hmm. I think last season they were looking at each other going, you know what, we've not beat them. Yeah. We've not beat them. If you can beat us here, going forward for the season, I think that puts you in good stead to maybe break that mentality. And at the end of the season, you know what's coming this year. Mm-hmm. Maybe, instead of going so gung-ho in games, forcing it, trying to get wins, you might take a step back and say, hold on, this is not a bad point, we'll take a point here. Because, you know, in title races, you get them games, but I think the Wolves game weekend with City might just give us a little kick. And I feel like sometimes Manchester City do need a little kick.
Let's talk about Mikel Arteta, Steve, because for years, outside looking in, you believed Mikel Arteta would turn Arsenal's fortunes around, and there's a debate about fortunes because we haven't won a major yet, but you was right. He turned around the atmosphere, he's turned around the belief, the connection between the fans and the club. Now we've got a squad that we believe in. This is the first season we've gone into believing we can and hope that we can win the league. But also, tactically, he's made some changes that seem to have nullified us in an attacking sense. Now we're in a position where expectation is sky high. Do you still believe Mikel Arteta is the one for us in terms of taking us to that major, potentially?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's not made his position any easier. I think that now, when you say he does things sometimes to nullify things, I think he's in a lose-lose situation. Sometimes he needs to try things, but because Arsenal are up there, if he tries something and it backfires and you lose a game, he could be out of the title race. So he's got to be very, very careful. I do believe, though, what I know about Mikel at Manchester City and what I know about what coaches have told me about him, that he is a very, very clever guy. And you don't get to work with Pep Guardiola if you're not. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, people give him stick. They said he's a cone man, he's this, that and the other. I believe that, you know, the job he had at Arsenal was so hard.
I agree.
And I think he took it on the chin. There was a lot of bad apples at Arsenal. I believe that he wormed them apples out of the club. And I think he he's now got a dressing room that believes in him. He's now got supporters that believe in him, and he's now got his own mentality around the club, which he needed. And I think it's about time, Turkish. We see other football clubs spent a lot of money. They're chopping and changing managers. They've got so-called bigger managers than Arteta, and they're not doing it. So at the end of the day, it's about pushing on from last season. You came close. You know the team you're up against. You know what they do. You know what you've got to beat. And it's all about just pulling it all together at the right time and getting over the line.
And look, let's focus on Sunday now. We've both got key players missing. Rodri and De Bruyne for yourselves, 2 key midfielders over the years. And we seem to have a couple injuries ourselves. Saka could be out, no news on that at the moment. Martinelli's been out. Partey hasn't, trained much at all. He hasn't played any minutes for a long time. So bearing in mind these players potentially missing, who do you look at Arsenal and think this is the player we need to keep quiet in order to pick up the 3 points here at the Emirates?
I mean, a lot of people will go to Saka, but to be honest, Saka, Nathan Ake always does a reasonable job on him. We know Saka's the best player you've got and he's fantastic, but I think Nathan is an older headed defender. He's not got the pace of Saka, but he's keeps very tight to him, makes sure he doesn't have a lot of space and just tries to nullify his game. I've been more worried about the midfield this game. I think we don't want Partey to get a grip if he plays. We don't want Declan Rice to get a foothold in there. But the one I worry about is Odegaard.
Yeah.
With Rodri not being in there and not being able to bully him, I don't want to give Odegaard a free run. Pep's going to have to come up with a plan. Whether he plays John Stones inverted in the midfield, whether Akanji plays in midfield like he did the other night, I don't know. But we've just got to have a plan for Odegaard. We can't let Odegaard pull the strings. If we let Odegaard pull the strings here, then we might be in for a tough game.
And what about City? I mean, bearing in mind De Bruyne and Rodri won't be there, and Haaland hasn't been himself recently in front of goal, to say the least. Who's the key threat for City? I've looked at Alvarez this season in the attacking position, and he's really come on leaps and bounds. I mean, he had a great first season last season, but he's being trusted a hell of a lot more this one. Doku's hit the ground running. He's electric, and I'd worry about him if he starts the game. Foden stepped up a couple of times this season. Who's the one City player you look to orchestrate this victory?
I just think you've got to look at Haaland. I think we know City are going to create chances. We've just got to make sure he finishes them. Yeah, he's had a couple of games where he's not hit the ground running and he's not scored, but it's what he does off the ball as well. He's starting to create panic in defences, dragging 3 or 4 men out of position, creating space for other people. And I think as long as he keeps doing that, Pep Guardiola will be happy with it. We've seen the goal the other night in the Champions League. Haaland finished it off. Obviously, Haaland's running alongside him, dragging defenders everywhere. And then Foden, with Kevin not playing, he's had his standout bit in the centre. He's got to step up. They're going to compare Foden and Saka to each other. If there's ever a platform or a stage for Phil Foden to shine and put a stake, especially for England as well, it's Sunday here at this place. So yeah, Foden and Haaland for me.
And you mentioned Haaland's off the ball work and his link-up play. I think when you look at the Etihad game against Arsenal last season with De Bruyne running off him, that really caused us problems. Without De Bruyne today, I know on Superfan Debate you mentioned potentially Grealish playing in that midfield role to do similar as De Bruyne last season.
I think, in my opinion, Grealish can do it, but obviously Pep Guardiola has other ideas. He's the boss. I just think Grealish in the middle there, maybe going left, right, winning us fouls high up the pitch and just generally being a nuisance could frustrate Arsenal. I don't know what Pep's got up his sleeve. I don't think any City fan does. We just got to trust our manager and trust the squad. We're coming here though on Sunday to win. We don't know anything else. That's what we're going to do, and we'll be here ready to back the boys on Sunday.
Yeah, coming here Sunday to win. We need to win this Sunday. Emirates Stadium, it's the big one. International break after that. And usually at this point, Steve, we move on to predictions. But I've had a quick think, and I've made my prediction on Forever Arsenal, and Steve's made his prediction on Superfan Debate, which comes out soon. So we won't ruin those for you. If you want to know our predictions, head over to Forever Arsenal for mine. Head over to Superfan Debate for Big Steve's. Make sure you watch those videos, hit the like button too. The Superfan Debates were interesting. I was hosting that as well, so make sure you show some love. But Steve, I guess I'll see you Sunday, mate.
May the best team win.